Welcome. I'm Steve Lindbergh from the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, and on behalf of the Field Conference of Pennsylvania Geologists, I'd like to welcome you to a closer look at several of the fossils collected at the Wymps Gap Limestone in the J.V. Thompson Quarry, located in Fayette County, Pennsylvania. So let's get started by taking a look at a Google Maps view of the quarry, which lies along the north side of PA Route 40. Here we can see the quarry exposure. The Wymps Gap lower units are exposed on the quarry floor in the upper part, northern part of the quarry, and some collecting was done at that location. I happen to think that some of the better fossils and more accessible fossils are found along the talus slopes on the northern, northeastern, and eastern side of the quarry along this tree line behind the maintenance sheds. And that exposes the upper, more thinly bedded units that tend to be highly fossiliferous. So here is a better view of the upper units of the Wymps Gap Limestone along the north, northeast, and eastern side of the quarry. Excellent fossils of invertebrates can be found in these small talus slopes that have developed below this moderately high wall, about 20 feet in height. And if I haven't previously mentioned it, the Wymps Gap Limestone at this location and other locations throughout southwestern Pennsylvania is probably the most fossiliferous unit for collecting invertebrate fossils in all of southwestern Pennsylvania. So here are a small collection of 7 samples picked up during my recent trips to the J.V. Thompson Quarry in October of 2020, with the exception of sample number 1, which has been in my collection since 1978 and is from the J.V. Thompson Quarry. So let's take a closer look, beginning with sample number 1, which I happen to think is an outstanding example of a blastoid theca, or calyx, of the Mississippian blastoid Petromydes. This sample has had a little bit of prep work done to it. I've soaked this piece of limestone in a dilute vinegar solution and then worked it a little bit with a Dremel tool to better expose the fossil. So we're looking at a theca about 1 centimeter in length with the well-preserved ambulacral grooves and about a ½ centimeter in width. Nearby in the same piece, we have a tiny but fairly well-preserved 3 columnar section of the stem of either a blastoid or crinoid, along with numerous lacy bryozoans preserved on this piece, which is very typical of the invertebrate fossils that can be found in the J.V. Thompson Quarry. Here's a closer look at the blastoid. Well-developed ambulacral grooves, a nice clear view of the theca from a different angle, about a ½ centimeter in width, along with the lacy fenestrate bryozoans and the small crinoid stem. Also noticeable in this piece, and typical of the layers found here at the quarry, are hundreds, if not thousands, of smaller fragmented pieces of invertebrate fossils, brachiopods, corals, crinoids, blastoids, and bryozoans. Sample number 2, an extremely fossiliferous piece of the more thinly bedded limestone. This characteristic greenish-gray matrix color of the Wymps Gap at this location. You can see that this piece contains hundreds, if not thousands, of smaller fossil fragments, mainly brachiopods, but we also have some bryozoans in here, and what I believe to be the pinnules of crinoids scattered throughout this piece. A little bit of a surprise on closer examination was this small but well-preserved fossil in the upper part of this specimen, which we'll take a look at in the next view. So here's an enlargement of that specimen number 2. And what we have here is a very, very well preserved hexagonal, 6-sided crinoid calyx plate within this piece, which are also fairly common at the Wymps Gap J.B. Thompson Quarry. Within this piece, you can also see hundreds of smaller fossil fragments of brachiopods, the pinnules from crinoids, and some smaller bryozoans. The reverse side of the same specimen number 2 shows what I refer to as a typical brachiopod fossil hash from this location, preserved slightly differently than the other side, probably a factor of weathering. We have some bryozoans, numerous fragments of brachiopods, and the plates of possibly a crinoid, along with some small little sections of stems. Sample number 3, a relatively small sample, but quite representative of the thinner bedded units found at this location. We have some nice, well-preserved lacy bryozoans, and we continue to see this characteristic fractured brachiopod hash. Specimen number 4, this typical brachiopod hash, along with lacy fenestrate bryozoans mixed together. Specimen number 5, one of the larger brachiopods, orthotetes, from the same talus slopes on the east side of the quarry. Not complete, but still one of the larger pieces that I found, along with numerous smaller fragments of other invertebrate fossils mixed in. Here we have a sample from the upper quarry floor and the lower units of the Wymps Gap, a fossil that I've identified as the Brachiopod Diaphragmus, a portion of it broken away, revealing the internal mold, filled with some very nice calcite crystals. And finally, specimen number 3, once again, another view of the fragmented brachiopods and the lacy bryozoans, along with our final specimen number 7, showing this characteristic brachiopod fragmental collection. So I hope you enjoyed seeing a brief closer look at some of the fossils that are available and can be found at the J.B. Thompson Quarry. And I look forward to your questions.